Hello everyone, and I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing latest something Telltale games, Transformers, and more. So here we are, when I'm posting this, we are exactly 3 days away from the release of The Walking Dead, the final season, episode 4, Take Us Back. Next Tuesday, March 26th, will be the end of Clementine's journey, and wow, I still can't believe that after 7 years, it's finally coming to an end. So, yeah, for my final breakdown video on a Telltale game, this will be my everything you need to know about video for The Walking Dead, the final season, episode 4, Take Us Back. In this video, we will be discussing the key art released for this episode, several screenshots, the launch trailer, and even a couple leaked achievements. So, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. This video will probably contain some minor to major spoilers for episode 4. So if you want to go into this episode completely blind, click off this video right now. But for any of you else who want to keep watching me, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe for more great content coming from me going forward. So let's go ahead and start with the key art. So episode 4's key art I think is actually the best key art we've seen for this entire season so far. So do you remember back in my analysis of episode 2's key art, we saw Clementine with James in the woods that showed how James is going to be a big character in the finals in episode 2. So here for episode 4's key art, we have Clementine and AJ surrounded by walkers in what looks like to be James's shed, but we went back in episode 3 to try and get in which we went to go to get James for help to break Violet, Lewis, Sim, and Omar out of Lily's boat camp thing. So in this little key art, we see Clementine armed with a pistol without her hat, and right next to her is AJ with this giant axe that looks way too big for AJ to be carrying, if I'm honest. Now, a lot of people are thinking it's really interesting considering how Clementine is using a gun here, since we've never seen Clementine use a gun at all in the final season. And this led many people to believe that maybe something happened in between events of New Frontier and final season made Clementine maybe take a vow to never use a gun again. Honestly, I think those guys are just digging way too into this, because in a question that was asked by, to Ken Muddle, who is the director of the final season on Tumblr, someone asked him, oh, why doesn't Clementine have the gun instead of AJ, or yeah, why don't you give Clementine the gun instead of AJ? And he explained that to him that, well, first off, there's no, the reason why AJ has the gun instead of Clem, it's not because Clem has taken some sort of vow, it's just that AJ is, as we learned in episode 1, AJ is a really good shot, and for Clementine's point of view, she thinks that giving the gun to AJ is better to protect himself with than a knife, which makes sense, because Clementine's nearly or is a grown adult. She's 17 or 18 during the final season, so having her with a knife, she's a lot more capable with a knife than AJ would be with a knife. So to give AJ the gun is makes a lot more sense. But so yeah, why are we exactly back in James's shed though during episode 4, and where did Clementine's hat go? These are questions I'm going to be answering as we go on, but next time that's all we can talk about for this key art as far as that goes. So we're gonna go ahead now and go into the launch trailer, which I'm gonna play for y'all one more time in case you haven't seen it yet. Okay, so the trailer starts off with the immediately following the events of episode 3's ending, where the bomb that Clementine and AJ put inside the boat went off and blew up the ship. We see Clementine alone on the shore right next to where the ship sunk. We can see it crash in a river in the background. Clementine wakes up after seemingly having fallen unconscious from the boat blowing up, and so she doesn't have her hat, and as she looks up, we see a walker emerge from the smoke of the explosion heading towards her. Once that happens and the trailer starts to start, we hear Minerva's song, "The Night Will Be Over Soon." However, instead of being sung by Violet, who sang it back in episode 3, determinedly if you saved her in episode 2, this time it's someone else singing it, but Ken Muddle confirmed on Tumblr that the person singing in the trailer is Jeremy Lay, who is the voice actress for Minerva. So, the question is, will we hear Minerva's version of "The Night Will Be Over Soon" actually appear in this episode, or was this version of the song just created exclusively for the trailer? My guess is we'll probably hear this at some point. Maybe Minerva ends up coming back to the school with us, and so maybe when they're there, like maybe AJ, to try and calm down AJ, she ends up singing this to comfort AJ, maybe, perhaps? I don't know. But after that, our first shot is of Clementine, AJ, and Ten inside of this big, huge cave. Now, one of the screenshots Skybound Games released is actually of this exact same scene again. However, James is there alongside Ten, AJ, and Clementine. So, obviously, because Ten, AJ, Clementine, and determinedly James, if he survived episode 3, they were all on the deck of the boat when it blew up. So, it would make sense for them all to still be together when they're in this cave. So, because of the fact that apparently to go to this cave, no matter whether or not James died or not in episode 3, this leads me to believe that this scene will focus a lot on Ten. Now, if you don't remember, back when Telltale was first showing off the final season at PAX earlier this year, they said that episodes 3 and 4 were going to focus a lot on Ten, but episode 3 didn't really focus on Ten at all, and Ken Muddle, again, explained in Tumblr that at the time when they announced the final season back at PAX, the script was vastly different than when it was by the time, like, episode 1 came out. So, things got moved around, and they said that though we still would be learning more about Ten in episode 4, and hopefully in this scene will be where we learn more about Ten, and I swear, Skybound, you better tell us how Ten got those scars. After that, the scene cuts up to a close-up of AJ inside the cave looking fucking pissed, as like you can see like the fire from Clementine's torch like burning in front of him. It makes him look really menacing, and as he's looking like super pissed, Clementine looks totally in shock, and then James looks over at Clementine looking kind of worried. Now, my opinion is this is what happens if you chose to tell AJ to kill Lily. So, after killing Lily, AJ's probably gone full Carver 2.0, and then Clementine and James are gonna be like, well, fuck, now AJ's a fucking killer. How are we gonna help him get through this? Because AJ's trying to be like, probably going through his head now that, like, all bad people need to die, and, like, he's got that determination going. And so Clementine and James are just really worried for AJ going forward with that scene, I think. After that, we cut to a couple shots of walkers walking through the forest at night, and we see Minerva, armed with her axe, walking up this in this clearing in the woods. She shakes her head a bit as if like she's kind of in pain or such, which may make sense because of the fact that determinedly she could have been shot through the shoulder by Violet if you saved her back in episode 2. Anyways, not much else we can tell that, only that it's confirmed Minerva survived the explosion at the end of episode 3. After that, we see a shot of Clementine and AJ surrounded on the shore, but where the boat was, surrounded by walkers slowly closing in on them. My guess is this happens immediately after the first scene of Clementine waking up. Maybe AJ kills that walker that's going to attack Clem, and then the two of them are on the shore trying to run away and get away from all the walkers coming to the explosion of the ship. Our next shot seems to be a continuation of the one where we saw Minerva walking through the walker-filled forest. We see Minerva cutting down a walker with an axe, so I don't think Minerva is alone in this shot. I think maybe we'll run into Minerva at some point, and she will be in the process of killing these walkers, and we have the choice to save her or not, I think. After Minerva kills the walker, we see a shot of daytime now. This is the only daytime shot of episode 4 that we have. It's Clementine once again without her hat, and she's wearing Violet's pin that you got if you romanced her in episode 2. So this confirms that this may be exclusive to the Save Violet route. Clementine is looking kind of concerned at daytime, and then AJ looks back at Clementine looking equally concerned. So I'm not sure. This looks definitely daytime. My opinion is this may come towards the end of the episode as they're walking towards the school. Maybe they see that, like, it's overrun with walkers now, or maybe, like, the Delta is taking over school expecting, or whoever's left of the Delta after Clementine blew up the boat, that they're expecting them to come back. So maybe Clementine and AJ are, like, seeing this, and they're thinking, well, shit, we gotta think of a plan now so we can get everyone out of the school and maybe find somewhere else to live now. The next batch of shots we have is of Clementine offering her hand to Violet outside the flaming remains of the ship, and Violet, like, sadly taking her hand. Now, so, to me, I think this is the save Lewis route where Clementine is offering her hand to Violet. As you can see, Clementine doesn't either have the star pin you get if you romanced Violet and saved her in episode 2, or she doesn't have the Clementine pin if you just befriended Violet and saved her in episode 2. So, my guess is that Violet feels pretty bad about having attacked Clem in the save Lewis route, because if you save Lewis back in episode 2, Violet's pretty pissed at Clem for abandoning her, because Violet gave up nearly everything to make sure Clem and AJ would stay, and then she just left her to let her get captured. So understandably, she's pissed, and then she attacks Clem when she tries to break out, because she thinks she's afraid that Clementine's gonna get herself, Lewis, Sim, Omar, and Minerva, and everyone else killed. So maybe at this point that Violet comes out, apologizes to Clem about being a bitch to her, and so then you probably have the option to either forgive Violet here or not. And so this scene of Clem offering her hand to Violet is probably their way of your, like, a choice that you can make where you end up forgiving Violet for her actions in the save Lewis route. The next 3 shots, actually 2 of them we already also have in screenshot form. The first shot we have is of Minerva in the woods, possibly after she slaughters all those walkers with the axe. We see her look at someone as if, like, she's kind of, like, looks like kind of betrayed or almost heartbroken almost. And then the next shot after that is of Lily, looks like regrettably aiming Minerva's crossbow up at someone outside the broken ship, but then like she seems to get a lot more, like, sure of herself as she takes aim with the crossbow. Both of these shots we also have screenshot variants of. In the screenshot version of Minerva's scene, we actually see her right shoulder is all covered in blood, and this is obviously, if you saved Violet in episode 2, Violet ends up shooting her through the shoulder with her own crossbow. So it could be, we're not exactly sure what if these Minerva and Lily scenes have any connection. So is this basically saying that, like, oh, is Lily aiming her crossbow at Minerva, getting ready to kill her, and that's why Minerva looks betrayed? Or maybe just Minerva's betrayed because maybe she sees that if you romanced Violet, that Violet's now with Clementine instead of her. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure if these 2 scenes are related. If not, the Lily scene, on the other hand, with Lily aiming the crossbow up at someone, we see this shot as a screenshot as well of how she's just standing next to what I assume to be the remains of the ship, covered in flames and all that, and we see her holding the crossbow. And now this is kind of a continuation of that, with Lily slowly taking up the crossbow and aiming it at someone. We don't know if she's aiming it at Minerva, Clementine, or someone else, though the next shot after this seems to imply that it might be Clementine, as we see Clementine, again, without her hat, aiming Marlin's bow at someone else. We don't know if this is Lily or someone else. AJ is behind Clementine as this is happening, but that shows a really good job of making sure we don't know who's aiming at who. We don't know if Lily's aiming at Clementine or Minerva. We don't know if Clementine's aiming at Lily. So we'll have to wait and see until the episode comes out to see who exactly is aiming their weapons at who in this episode. The next 2 shots aren't really anything special. We see one shot of Clementine tackling AJ to the ground as she knocks herself and AJ away from a grenade that explodes right next to them. And we also see a shot of AJ and 10 exploring the cave. The 2 of them, Clementine and determinedly James, are also in as well. The close-up on 10 in this shot seems to imply that 10 will play a major role in this scene, so who knows. But the most interesting scene here is of this one shot of Clementine with this blinking red light as she looks at something looks like shocked or even sad. Now, to me, I think this might be the McHale Ranch flashback, because if you notice, Clementine's hair is a lot shorter and kind of cleaner here than it is in the final season. Still, she still has the one pigtail in the end, just like she currently does in the final season. So it's safe to say that at least some time has passed after the events of New Frontier, so this isn't like immediately following the end of New Frontier. But if you look really closely, like right when the light goes out, you can kind of see that this isn't Clementine's blue Steel Stallion jacket that she's wearing for the final season. It looks like she's actually wearing her red jacket that she put on at the end of New Frontier when she set out to go find AJ. So this might very well be the McCarroll Ranch flashback. And Skybound Games did confirm that there will be a McCarroll Ranch flashback at some point in episode 4. So this may very well be that flashback. So what exactly is Clementine doing here? Why she looks so sad with this blinking red light? Does this have anything to do with the blood that AJ mentioned all the way back in episode 1? Who knows? Our next shot after the one with Clementine is of James inside the cave with Clementine, 10, and AJ holding his whisperer mask and then just like dropping it as if like he's just like, you know what, I'm just done. So the way I see this going is definitely because if you told AJ to kill Lily, obviously James survives, but the way I see it, James is probably like totally like disappointed in Clementine. Like he says like that maybe the way he sees it is that he's tired of just people thinking that, like, because James believes in the fact that not everyone deserves to die, and that there's more to walkers than just being monsters. So the way I see it is that maybe James feels betrayed by Clem due to the fact that she let AJ kill Lily. So maybe this is James' way of saying that he's done helping Clem, that he's just going to go his own way, which is kind of what I expected to happen to James if you did kill Lily. That James, who would be disappointed and totally betrayed by Clem for letting AJ kill Lily, I feel like he would just leave Clem like, you know what, you're on your own, screw you guys. So I feel that's exactly what's going to happen here, that James is going to end up leaving the group because he's totally betrayed, but he feels totally betrayed by Clementine. The next couple shots are kind of minor ones, but we learn a little bit about them from this. So after the shot immediately following after James drops his whisper mask, we see Clementine again without her hat taking an axe to this walker's face. Now, it could be possible this is Minerva's axe that we saw Minerva use a couple times earlier in this trailer. It could also be the same axe that AJ is using in the key art for this episode. So maybe this is their way of saying, and also, it looks like this is in the daytime that Clementine's using the axe to kill this walker. So maybe the daytime shot of Clem and AJ is also, maybe they run into Minerva in the woods, and the three of them take shelter in James's shed, and while they're doing this, they have to get to the walkers. Maybe Minerva even dies on the way there, and that's why Clementine is using her axe to kill walkers, and why AJ later has it on in the key art when they're inside the barn. But who knows? After that, we have a quick shot of Clementine right outside the boat battling one of the Delta members, in which we see her nail this guy right in the face with an arrow as he tries to stab Clem with another arrow, but Clem gets the jump in front and kills him. We see a couple of Lily's other Delta people shooting at walkers at the woods at midnight, though this kind of implies we'll be dealing with both walkers and Delta Raiders to try and get back to Erickson School. Our next shot we have is of, I bet all you Clueless fans are really happy about, is of Clementine and AJ hugging Lewis. Now, I wasn't sure at first if this was Lewis in the Save Violet route, where Lily cut out his tongue and he can't speak. I am still not over that, Skybound. I still do not forgive you for cutting out Lewis's tongue. I know it's my fault, but I'd rather have... I feel terrible letting Lewis get his tongue out. I still hope you guys know that. So I thought that was this at first, but this is actually the Save Lewis route in which Clem and AJ are hugging Lewis, as you can see that Clem doesn't have one of Violet's 2 buttons on her jacket. So this is the Save Lewis route in which Violet and Clem and AJ are hugging Lewis. So I feel like this is probably shortly after they get away from the boats. They deal with all the walkers and maybe Lily as well. And maybe this might even be when they find Minerva, that Clementine and AJ run into Lewis, they reunite, and they decide to go off. No idea where Asim and Omar are, who they were with Lewis as well when the ship blew up in episode 3. But we'll wait and see. Then we have what I think is probably going to be my favorite shot in any Walking Dead Telltale game. We have this absolutely epic shot of Clementine and AJ just booking it as the boat just just comes over, flips over, and is about to crash right into the shore and explode. And I just like to see something do that, Telltale do something on that big of a scale. Just have this huge ship just come up as if it was on a wave and just topple over onto the ship and explode as Clementine and AJ are running away from it like it's some kind of action movie. That's honestly, I think, such a really cool shot, and it's definitely gonna stand out to me as one of my favorite moments in a Telltale game for sure. Just Clementine and AJ absolutely booking it away from this boat that's about to explode. And then, interesting one thing to note about this clip is that, again, Clementine is missing her hat. There's only like one time in this whole trailer where Clementine actually has her hat. So we'll get more into that later on. Right after that, we see a shot of a bunch of walkers entering the cave that James, AJ, Clementine, and Ten are in. Though, what's pretty interesting that I haven't seen so far anyone really point out is if you look really closely at, you see the main walker here. If you look behind that walker, you see what looks like another walker falling down, as if someone is killing walkers. Maybe like that cave leads to like the exit of a, maybe it's just like a straight drop down into like a ravine or something. So maybe this is just like someone's killing walkers that try and get into the cave, or maybe just walkers are falling to their death outside this cave. Who knows? Then we have a shot which seems to be back inside James's shed, as we see Clementine hold back a door, preventing walkers from getting in. And we can see someone's arm on the left of Clementine there, which looks like James to me. So it looks like maybe we won't see the end of James in the cave, or if the cave actually is before James' shed. I think the cave is going to be one of the earlier places we go to in the episode, and then we'll go to James' shed. So maybe James won't leave after all. This next shot, I think, is pretty interesting as well, and we see James inside the cave holding up his hand, and we see like this big cut on his hand. It looks like as if someone stabbed him through the hand almost. Now, I don't think this is a bite. I just think he probably just got stabbed in the hand, through the hands. Now, why is James holding up his hand showing this cut? My guess is maybe AJ actually attacked James and stabbed him. So what I think is that maybe in the kill Lily route, AJ, who is like now a fucking psycho, if as we saw in the opening shot of him in the cave with Clementine and James, he doesn't want anyone touching him. So then maybe, because we know how AJ kind of has a thing where he freaks out if people touch him from behind. Like we saw he bit Ruby after she grabbed him from behind. We saw he punched him all in the balls after he grabbed his shoulder. So maybe he ended up accidentally stabbing James in the hand after maybe James tried to calm AJ down after killing Lily. So maybe this is James' way of trying to get to Clementine. Hey, listen, I told you not to go to let AJ kill someone. Look what happened. He stabbed me through the fucking hand, so you fucked up, Clem. So I think that's what's going to happen with that scene, especially. The next three shots are very, very quick, but we can still learn a lot from them. In this first shot, we see Clementine for the first time in this trailer with her hat, as she's seen grabbing AJ on looks like to be the remains of the ship, as a giant hole has been blown in it, and Clementine is trying to hold on to AJ to prevent him from falling down into like the lake where there are a bunch of walkers. So we know that Clementine will apparently lose her hat at some point before she gets off the ship. So how will she lose her hat? My guess is it probably just gets knocked back. It flies off in an explosion. Maybe she falls and loses it. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. After that, we see a quick shot of Minerva armed with a rifle shooting at walkers, or someone just screaming. My guess is that this will be to the same time as the scene where we saw two of Lily's Delta Raiders battling walkers. Maybe one of them dies. Minerva takes up this gun, and maybe to give Clementine AJ time to escape, she maybe sacrifices herself by battling all these walkers and giving Clementine AJ the time they need to escape. We then see this next shot. Our last shot is of AJ viciously stabbing a walker in the head, repeatedly screaming inside of James's shed, as you can see the little wind chimes that Clementine had to touch behind him. And this definitely confirms that the key art is in James's farm, because you can see the bale of hay to the left of AJ that Clementine and AJ are standing in front of in the key art, and even like the barn doors that kind of look the same. So yeah, this is definitely in James's farm, and AJ's just going to town on this walker. My guess is that, again, this will be in the psycho AJ route. Maybe after killing Lily, he feels like he can do anything, so he just decides he's gonna go fuck this walker up and just go shanky shank on his skull. Or maybe this might actually be in the save Lily route, where maybe AJ feels bad about not killing Lily because then James died, so maybe to get his frustrations out, he just goes ahead and starts shanking this walker repeatedly. Either or is a fitting idea. And then for the final two shots of this trailer, which I am not a fan of, we see Clementine at nighttime on this bridge, armed with a pistol in her one hand and without her hat, as she jumps across this bridge as it's collapsing. And as Clementine jumps over, we can see there's like this huge ravine under her. She then almost makes it to the edge of the other side of the bridge, and then we see our last shot is of Clementine on some sort of rock side with AJ above her, with Clem reaching her hand out for AJ, and then that's right when the trailer ends. Now, at first I thought these two shots of Clementine jumping over the bridge and then her hand reaching out for AJ's were connected, but I think actually these scenes are in two different spots, because the rocky side that Clementine is reaching up for AJ in, that doesn't look like the edge of the bridge that were right like moments ago where we see Clementine jump across the bridge, because there's a bunch of wood on that side of the bridge. So unless maybe the wraps part of the bridge gets knocked down, I think this is a totally different scene. But I think this very well may be the end of the episode we are seeing right here, in that Clementine is trying to have AJ pull her up, but I don't think it's going to work, and AJ is going to have to end up letting Clementine fall potentially to her death, and that will be the last we see of Clementine. She'll probably fall off the cliff, and we don't know if she's dead or alive. She'll just be gone, and AJ will just be alone for the remainder of the episode. And this actually ties in to some ideas I have for the achievements that have been leaked for episode 4. So that's it for my trailer analysis. So now we're going to go ahead and go over some screenshots that we didn't get the chance to look over in the trailer analysis. So we went over 3 of the screenshots already, but we still have 2 more to go over. So I'm going to go ahead and cover those really quickly for you guys. The first screenshot we have is, or I guess the fourth technically, is of Clementine presumably on the boat without her hat, looking at something that seems to be on fire. We see someone's shoulder to the right, to Clementine's right, and my guess is, I think this is 10 with Clementine. So this is probably right about, maybe right after she saves AJ, because at that point Clem still had her hat on, and now she doesn't, maybe. So now, at this point, she's with just 10 and AJ, determinedly James too, if you killed Lily at the end of episode 3, and they're like, oh shit, the ship's about to go down, we have to get off of it. So, not much to that, I think, just though, so 10 is definitely here with 8 Clem, and that this is right when the boat's about to go down. And then for our final screenshot, which I think is the most interesting one, is that we see this new area also covered in red, surprisingly. Now, if you remember back in the trailer, we saw that one shot with what I think is the McCall Ranch flashback. Clementine was in front of a blinking red light. So maybe in this little area, this looks like a garage at the McCall Ranch. So maybe at this point, and like everything we've seen at the McCall Ranch throughout this entire season, it's all been red. Like if you remember back to the episode 2 nightmare that she had, which was at the McCall Ranch, where she saw the horse and the room was all on fire. It was this same kind of red. So I feel like this is going to be that. And also, if you look really closely right there towards like what I assume is the exit of the garage, we see this sports car, which looks very similar to, if not, it might actually be the same car that Clementine and AJ were in at the very start of episode 1, where they were driving to the train station, then they crashed, and then they ended up getting taken to the school. So maybe this is how they got the car. So this is this is the McCall Ranch, probably maybe the day Clem and AJ decided to leave. That's when the blood happened, so according to AJ. So they took this car, they left, and they've just been on the road for years since then. And I think this is where we're going to find out, finally, what happened at the McCall Ranch. And now that's pretty much all we've got for screenshots. Now we're going to get on to what my favorite part of these reviews is, or everything news about videos, is the discussing the leaked achievements. So of course, again, just spoiler warning here in case you haven't already. So we're going to go ahead and jump into these achievements now. Alright, so for the first, I'm going to assume that all of these achievements are in chronological order, as the way they were listed for previous episodes, they were listed in the order that you could get them in the game. So, going with the first secret achievement for episode 4 is one I am really, really scared about. The first achievement, secret achievement episode 4, is called Goodbye, and it just shows an arm, arm with a white splatter across it, as if, there's, it's just an arm, and there's blood over it, and it says, did all you could. So, this achievement I've been wondering for a long time. So, what exactly does this mean, goodbye? My guess is, I have a lot of guesses to this. At first, I thought this meant that maybe, God forbid, Clementine got bit, and you get goodbye, and you'll have the option to cut off your arm to stop this in an effort to make sure you don't die. So, maybe that's how you get this achievement, but I don't think I could see Clementine cutting her arm off. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Telltale to make us cut off Clementine's arm determinedly, but I don't think it could be as well. It just says, did all you could, so all you could do if you got bit on the arm by a walker is to cut off your arm, so maybe It might be that Clementine cuts her arm off. I'm not sure. But it also could be maybe someone dies. So goodbye is in like someone's badly wounded and you have to mercy kill them. Maybe maybe in this case with goodbye, what it is that maybe Asim or Omar is on the edge of the boat and they are like really close to dying, and they're like maybe they got like badly burned, or they're like they were like bit a lot by walkers, and then you have the option to mercy kill either Omar or Asim. And then if you do that, you get the achievement goodbye, and that's the arm is supposed to be is just for spoiler reasons to hide whoever got killed. That could be another reason. Another thing I could think of is maybe, just maybe, this might be reference to the final scene of the trailer in which Clementine's arm is seen raising up towards AJ's as if she's about to hang on to something. Maybe you get goodbye if you do something in that scene, because the way I see it, maybe like as AJ's trying to pull Clementine up, walkers come all around AJ, and so then you have to either tell AJ to pull harder and like try to pull Clem up more, or tell AJ to let Clem go and let her potentially fall to her death. And maybe that's what goodbye could be as well. Whatever the case is, goodbye is the one achievement I am not looking forward to in this game, and I am scared of how to get it. I should also point out here that there are no achievements related to Rosie in Episode 4. Like, in Episodes 1, 2, and 3, we've all had an achievement that involved interacting with Rosie. Like, we had Good Girl, Great Girl, and then Best Girl. But Episode 4 does not have an achievement related to Rosie. Why could this be, maybe? My guess is either there's just no reason, there's no way we can interact with Rosie in Episode 4, so that's why, or Rosie dies in Episode 4, so that's why there's no achievement. That could be a reason as well. One of those two, I think, is the reason why there's no Rosie achievement in Episode 4. But anyway, our next achievement is You and Me, and the picture of the achievement is of silhouettes of Clem and AJ together, and the achievement description is came full circle. So, when it means came full circle, and it shows the picture of Clem and AJ just set, and the achievement name is You and Me, that leads me to believe that there will be a point in the game where we can be with a bunch of people, but if you get to this point with only Clem and AJ, you get this achievement. This reminds me a lot of the beginning of Episode 5 of Season 1, where when Lee gets bitten, you have to go after Clementine. You can go like with assortment of people. You can go for like with just Kenny and Ben. You can go with Kenny, Omid, and Krista. You can go with just Kenny. You can go by yourself. And so, I bet to get this You and Me achievement, there will be a point where you can go with a bunch of people, but if you just go with AJ, you'll get the You and Me achievement, which, to be honest, I'm not kind of sure if I want that to happen, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens there. And then our next achievement is Promise, and it's of a hand holding a smaller hand with a description, said you'd never leave. This one is pretty self-explanatory. I feel like at one point there'll be an option where AJ tells Clem, like, oh, can you promise me you'll never leave? And if you do say you promise, you get the achievement Promise. Nothing really special about that achievement. Now, the last achievement is something I am really scared about, as much as the goodbye achievement. This achievement is called Lost and Found, and the achievement picture is just of Clem's hat, and the description is found Clem's hat. Now, as we've seen throughout all the Episode 4 screenshots and trailer, Clementine does not have her hat. Now, this could just be, oh, well, then maybe just Clementine loses her hat this episode, but then there's a way you can find it, and if you do find Clem's hat, you get this achievement. That's one thing. But the thing that bothers me about this achievement is the fact that that the description is found Clem's hat and not found your hat, because a lot of all the times in other achievements, when they talked about Clementine, they refer to you as Clementine. For example, like if you go back to Episode 2, one of the secret achievements was Be Prepared. It says you made sure everything was ready. Or in Episode 3, the achievement Personal Space, its description is kept your distance. So why in Lost and Found does it say found Clem's hat instead of found your hat? My guess is this is just speculation again, but I believe that in the end of Episode 4, we will be playing as AJ. So, my guess is, at the very end of the Episode 4, the scene where I told you all about Clement reaching up for AJ, and then it seemed as though, like, I think Clem's gonna fall, presumably to her death, or go missing. I feel like that's it. That's all we see of Clementine then. And then for the last, like, maybe 5 minutes of the episode, we play as AJ, and he's just wandering around. And maybe when he comes by a river, which would make sense considering the boat was on a river and that's where Clem loses her hat, will find Clem's hat, and so that will be the final collectible for the episode. So AJ can find Clem's hat and takes it back to the school with and with all the other collectibles that you found that episode. And so I feel like we'll be playing as AJ in the last like 5 minutes or so of the episode. It's gonna be really sad that happens, but I hope it doesn't come to that, and that is maybe will just be Clementine finding her hat. I really hope that's the case. But that's everything you need to know about The Walking Dead, the final season, episode 4, Take Us Back. The final episode of The Walking Dead Telltale Series will be released in 3 days on March 26th for Xbox One, PS4, Switch, and PC. Are you guys excited for the end of The Walking Dead Telltale Series as we know it? If you are, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later.